videos to pull up old videos of good racehorses, and there's obviously no videos to really show for any horses in this race. So I dug up the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint from 2017 at Del Mar, and not because I bet the horse that should have won that got on a dead rail, and I'm not going to say what jockey who's a friend of mine might have been on that dead rail in that race, but Bar of Gold. What did you pay, $140 or something?
138. I was going to say, yeah, right under 140. Rat Ortiz Jr.
Bar of Gold's half-sister, sired by a Triple Crown winner. And I think this is the second Justify we might have seen. I feel like there may have been one other Justify, though I'm not sure. And it's a nice pedigree, and I'm just kidding is where I went here. Pedigree. Kimmel's horse has been running well, actually, lately. I took this one, and you have this one third.
I do. Yeah, I do.
All right.
I didn't hear anything. I hadn't heard anything until today. Apparently, there's a little push on this horse.
Oh, okay. I don't hear before, after, during the races. I hear after when my picks suck. But
I went to my breakfast at Saratoga partner, Tom Amos. Tom is the only person that usually beats me to the box area in the morning.
No, he's got to get to that food before they.
And yeah, I went to Camp Aquila. Couple of decent works down at Churchill Downs. Last work out of the gate at Churchill on July 3rd. Ordinarily, I'd rather go to a horse that has the more recent work from the pole and the penultimate work from the gate, but I'm going to make an exception. I really didn't know what to do here, Andy. I didn't see a ton of pedigree.
Does Tom like
anywhere.
this horse?
No, I didn't ask anybody anything. I know nothing.
Joel Politi, who owns this horse, of course, owned Serengeti Empress. He's been a long-time owner of Tom's, and Tom had a terrific meet. I think he won with four two-year-olds at the Churchill Downs meet. And we are happy to have him. Natalia Lynch. Is there a story on Natalia Lynch's first-time starter?
No.
Irish Empress?
No.
Blue Streak. You know what Blue Streak Racing represents?
Rail Attracts Rosario. I do not.
My alma mater, Saratoga High.
Oh, wow.
They're the Blue Streaks. Anthony, come on, man.
I didn't know. I'm sorry, Andy. I was the Spartans at John. Oh, so that makes sense. I was right down the road from Aqueduct. You were right down the road from Saratoga. John Adams High School is less than a mile from the yeah. John Adams, right on Rockaway
I thought it was
Boulevard.
actually at the 8th pole.
It's about 3/8 of a mile from the back gate.
I think it was actually at the 8th pole.
I used to walk it. That's how close it was. That's how you know it's close.
Natalia Lynch has the record for the greatest claim of the year. Who was the horse she claimed that won a bunch of money?
The state bred.
The New York bred. And then she sold for $200,000. She should get an Eclipse Award for that.
I forgot now.
Yeah, this was more kind of turfy, the pedigree, but that doesn't always really matter when you're looking at these pedigrees. I don't know. You know, the 4 Lady Minus experience. I think yesterday was a good example of experience and the importance of experience in these races when the second-time starter, I mean, $6 in that horse, the owners that ran, and sort of a disappointing effort from Chocolate Gelato.
Gelato had a good trip and just didn't fire from
home.
Like the Mott Filly ran well,
the Godolphin horse ran well to be second in there. We'll see how that plays out. Going further, race number 2. I think in race number 2 there is going to be a herd going for Remain Anonymous. We'll take a look at the last race, finishing third. It's Brad Cox. She's a new face in a crew where we're understandably, sick and tired of some of these names and horses.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it's, the familiarity is kind of tiresome. And it's Irad Ortiz, and I believe, at least based on the first day's betting, Anthony, that unless you just feel like you can't get away from a horse that Irad is riding, you're kind of supposed to be against him because every horse he's riding it's Irad's fault because he's a great rider, but it's not Irad's fault that they're being overbet. And Irad's going to be losing on horses that are 5-2 that probably should be 4-1.
Right.
And that's a problematic thing. You've taken this horse. I've got her second. I'm a little dubious.
I went to the 2 fresh faces, just based on what you were saying. Kind of sick of seeing these names at this point already. The customer experience and the Boston Bays of the world, and Cadota Pay. I've kind of seen enough. So I went to the 2 shippers, Remain Anonymous and Melty Snow. Now it looks like they're both dropping, and on paper and mathematically, they are dropping. They ran for 40. They're running for 32.
Well, that's not a significant enough drop because of the purses. I mean, a drop is dropping, claiming for 40, running for 20.
Right.
Or even getting the purse, you barely get out.
And I think this is a good way to illustrate this point, that the way the purse structure is now, especially here this meet, this is not a drop. These horses are going to earn.
It's a drop. It's not. I wouldn't word it that way. It's a drop. It's deceptive to say it's not a drop. It's a drop. It's just not a significant drop. May not be a meaningful drop. It's a drop.
A meaningful drop.
Right,
Okay.
it's a drop.
Yeah.
I don't think that anybody thinks that running for 40 and running for 32 with these
No.
horses is a meaningful drop. You and I have already had a conversation we're not going to have here, though it's a rare conversation you and I perfectly agree on.
Yeah.
I looked up Brad Cox off the claim with Dirt Sprinters at Saratoga, and I will fully tell you that this is a very small sample. He's 0 for 5 with 0 hitting the board, and here are the prices: 4 to 1, 5 to 2, 2 to 1, 6 to 5, and 8 to 5. So he's had
Wow.
5 horses off the claim here, arguably 4 of them at really short prices,
Yeah.
and none of them have hit the board. So it's almost like an 0 for 15 because he's had 3 slots to fill and he hasn't filled one of them. I got her second, Anthony. I'm not against her, but
Yeah.
that on a horse that's going to be a very short price in this race, she is not going to. What is she? 5 to 2 morning line? She's not going to be 5 to 2 in here, and the 2's not going to be favored in here. She's going to be favored, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think David might have not been quite as ready that Ira, because Ira didn't really get over bet at Belmont, did he?
No, I was.
And that
I
was
was
the thing.
surprised.
David and I were talking about this
yesterday.
morning. He had a positive ROI at Belmont. You know that?
I did not know
Ira
that.
Ortiz had a positive ROI at Belmont.
Well, he won like 30%, right?
Still,
Yeah.
Dylan Davis had a huge ROI. Well, Dylan's riding great. I don't know. I took customer experience. I'm going to tell you something. This is kind of an Anthony Stabile type pick. This horse is 16-4 with 16 starts, 4 wins outside of 6 furlongs. I think we've almost forgotten, because she hasn't really run it recently,
Yeah.
that she's a better 6 furlong horse. You
She
know?
might be.
And I don't love her, you know that, but she's running against Goodnight Olive, who'll probably be the favorite in the Shine again in her next start. I just took her because I thought she was faster than them, and I didn't think she'd be favored. I thought the one would be favored.
Thought Melting Snow was a little interesting as well. Out of that same 40 down for the 32 for Tom Amos. Philly's 5 for 10 at the distance.
Did you worry about claim, though, from Bill Morey off of
Yeah,
mediocre
little
form?
bit. A little bit.
No disrespect to Tom, obviously,
Little
but
bit.
it's a tough guy to claim from.
Little
It's
bit.
an odd race because the pace in here is Grudge, who's a hard horse to like, and the 3 Invaluable, who we know because Pat Reynolds had this
Sure.
horse here for a while. Pat Reynolds, at one time, Pat Reynolds has had this horse in raging form. I've got the horse third because she's speed. But this horse was running an $8,000 claiming race.
Yeah, no.
I don't know.
Not for me anymore.
But she is the speed.
She is the
Be
speed.
careful. Now, I thought yesterday's track was perfectly fair. We saw some speed do well. We saw closers do well. I thought all the courses played very fairly yesterday.
A
I thought Dynamics played well.
lot of realistic results.
I don't disagree. Race number 3 at 1 1/16 on the turf. We're going to show a replay that involves quite a few horses from this race. And we're going to show the start to show you Oregano, who actually ran extremely well in here, and arguably, and I think you liked her in this race.
I did.
You either picked her first or second. There's an argument that she could have won this race. She got completely and totally left. I mean, badly left. It's not even in the short comment. I don't know if it's in the chart. And then rushed up wide to make position. This horse ran very, very well in here to be beaten a length and 3/4. But I think the other thing to note is that Whistler's Honor, who I did like in here, got absolutely, completely buried. And this is the problem with burying your horses on the inside and not giving yourself any option. Well, she never found one. And this is a horse that I thought ran extremely well in her debut and had been waiting for. And I'm going to take her on top. She can get a chance to run. But I think that she and Oregano were the 2 trip horses you wanted out of this race. You saw the race differently.
Yeah, I wanted Whistler's Honor. I know that Oregano did not have the cleanest break and then was kind of wide, but I thought the horse that you wanted out of the race like you was Whistler's Honor. I like Biondi a little bit. I don't see – there's another race where I don't see a ton of speed in here, and I'm wondering if Luis Saez, like last time, just tries to bottom him out. Heeman Harkey tried to do it 2 starts back, and we'll see if he can just get this horse to the front today. And if the turns, the inner turf course and the 2 turns here at Saratoga help her cause a little bit more.
I think that she
His
ran
cause.
fine in that race because she was the only horse
He.
that was forward. He was, excuse
was
me.
a she, too.
That sounds like a Blondie. Sounds like Blondie.
Right.
It's the only horse forward that actually ran well in there. I think there's one flaw in the idea of this horse, and I'm not saying she won't be the speed, but I think there's a flaw in that thinking. The 6 Oregano got left last time.
Okay.
she's never gotten left before badly.
Is he going to be forward today,
If he
maybe?
breaks well today, isn't he going to be forward? That's all. I don't dispute that the four, and listen, I've got the 4/3. I'm not against that thought, and the horse ran fine last time. I'm going to take more horses that had trouble in there. Is there anybody else we need to talk about?
I don't believe so.
Your Mission, who seemed to run okay first time, is a new gelding, and it's Lasix. But once again, it's an Irad Ortiz horse for Todd Pletcher that's going to have to really improve to be a factor here that probably should be a much bigger price than he is going to be. And Mr. Connecticut, I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
I don't know what to tell you either at this point.
Race number 4. So I thought Actualize was a complete and literal, absolute cinch here. And I almost wonder if this is one, and Charlie's part owner of this horse. Maybe they decided they didn't want to lose him for 20.
Well, for the 20 at least,
Yeah,
right?
maybe they decided they didn't want to lose him. I could be wrong. Maybe he scratched for a variety of reasons. But I thought he was a cinch here. I know you were trying to beat him with Inspired Mischief. I would not. I scratched into him for second.
Yeah, I
though.
just was taking one shot against him. I was like you. I thought Actualize was going to be tough, but it's hard to take these horses that just keep coughing up. That coughed up a couple of leads in the winter, and then kind of to me,
Well,
kind of
coughed up
lost
the lead on a dead rail and then against Highly Respected.
kind of lost his speed a little bit in his last couple of starts.
Who's lost his speed?
I thought he lost his speed
Who
a
has?
little bit. Actualize.
Well, he's
Oh,
not running,
yeah,
so we don't
right.
need to talk
No,
about
I
it.
know.
I don't agree with you, but okay.
Yeah, I was just taking one shot against him with the Pletcher horse that ran for the special weight at Monmouth, dropping in for the tag, pair of blinkers. He didn't do any running that day. He had a little bit of trouble at the start, but
He was dreadful.
yeah, he was dreadful.
He was
wasn't
dreadful. Now, maybe he'll run better, but
good.
once
Yeah,
again,
just hoping that the drop helps the cause.
it's a Todd Pletcher drop down with Irad Ortiz. And I admit to having him second. I had him third. I scratched into him. This is just a horse that you're just not getting paid on. And I'm not picking horses that you're not going to get paid, at least reasonably. Now, listen, I don't think Just Like This is going to be a particularly big price in
Right.
here either. Just Like This is, and don't forget the one scratch was 8-5. So Just Like This was 9-2 morning line. Your horse was 3-1. Your horse is going to be 8-5 now, and this horse may be closer to 3-1. I don't know. Don't really understand why this horse ran on the turf first time. Now maybe ran on the turf because it didn't show
Long
anything on the
turf for-
dirt.
a mile on the turf
This
first time
horse's
out.
pedigree really says much more dirt.
Yeah,
the
main
dam
track.
actually ran 9th in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Dirt. So I thought for Brad, and I looked up some stats. His numbers aren't particularly great. Maiden second starts going turf to dirt. They're not horrendous, but they're not particularly special. Actually, the percentage is good. It's 33%.
Real kitchen sink too, right? Blinkers, Lasix, cutting back, turf.
Well, I scratched into him,
dirt.
and I tried to look for somebody else, but I'll show you a horse who's going to take money, and that's Suppressor. And maybe they think coming back that he'll run better on a 6 furlongs. But this was Manny was sitting on him against this bad field, and it's not, okay, the winner had credentials to win, and he got a good ride from Eric Cancel. But Manny's sitting on him like he's gin, and he couldn't even hold on for second.
He's also getting beat by a horse that had multiple chances. Look, when horses get beat for 40 and 20 in the maiden ranks, you're never going to say you're surprised. But at the quarter pole, this horse was home Jerome. He got beat 4 lengths, 3.5 lengths. How is that? If I told you that at the quarter pole, he was going to give me 3.5 lengths, you'd have told me that was nuts.
I agree. Their argument's going to be it was 7 furlongs and we're cutting back to 6.
Maybe.
I'm not. Listen, this is a horse that's run effectively at a mile before, so I'm not exactly sure why that should have been an issue. He's a tough one to take. Maybe the wise guy horse is the 8, Marco Polo. I probably would have put this horse second if I had more time to think about it. Does have beginning races when was with Baffert that are good enough, but I don't know. Linda Claims horse runs in the turf. This horse does have a little bit of a look, doesn't it?
Yeah,
You know?
I guess. I put the horse
Gave
third,
it a
but
prep on the dirt after a 7-month layoff. Comes to Saratoga, finds the right field, especially
those
with
Churchill
Charlie scratching.
claims have just been.
You know, Linda Rice's Churchill claim. Linda Rice went to Churchill and claimed a bunch of horses last year. It was a disaster for her. There's no doubt about it. I think it's unfortunate because here's somebody who tried something different.
And
it
we
blew up.
keep chastising her a little bit for
Well, I
it.
don't
but
chastise her. It just worked out badly.
Yeah,
She
it
knows
just
it worked out
didn't
badly.
work,
You don't have to
of
tell her.
course.
She's
Right,
the one who
she's not
lost all the
stupid.
money.
Yes,
She's the
exactly.
one who looked like a fool. She's well aware how badly it looked, but that doesn't mean that she made the wrong move. Just because you do something and try something
because
new.
you fail doesn't mean you did it right.
Right.
I agree with you
And sometimes
100%.
just because you succeed doesn't mean you're
You're right.
necessarily right. You might have
Correct.
gotten a little lucky. Race number 5.
Results dictating the narrative.
Right. You have to be careful. Results. You've got to ask yourself about results. Were the results Oh, we have a carryover.
Buck
Jose's.
20.
How about 4 horses covered the last race, and a horse that paid $660 that should have paid $380 wasn't covered?
I didn't know that there were 4 horses covered.
4
That's stunning.
horses.
Well, that has to be zip codes or birthdays or anniversaries, because if you
Anthony,
handicap that,
I know you don't spend a lot of mail, but zip codes are 5 letters, 5 numbers.
you make a great point.
Phone numbers are 7. I know we don't look at them either
I
anymore.
guess we got to find some authentication.
Canadian zip codes are 6? Is that true,
I have
Jose?
no idea.
I don't believe that.
Well, there you go.
I think
Whatever it
I think
is,
Jose's
how
toying
that-
with me.
if you told me that there were 4 tickets alive, they all 4 should have been to the winner.
By the way, the winner of the stake yesterday was a Justify.
Okay.
It's amazing, right? Yeah.
Yes.
None. 4 other horses covered, not the winner, who should have paid $380. And by the way, we said it before the race, so we can say it now. I thought this race was uber tricky, and I've got to tell you, I'm dying to know why you like Gushko Bra. You're really going to pick an IRAD every race.
Yeah, this was more of a Danny Gargan pick. We didn't really get into it yesterday. You took the Gargan
Horse I
winner.
took had a reason to win, though.
Yeah.
The horse was coming off a ridiculous trip.
I feel like this horse, Danny's run this horse 3 times since claiming him from Todd Pletcher. Got the maiden win at Gulfstream 2 months later. Tried him in the little stakes race. And then last time out, was breaking from post 12. I mean, it was kind of just he was 4
Is there a
wide
story
on
on
the
this
race. No,
horse?
no story at all. He had a no chance trip. I'm getting ready for my Meadowlands Pace show tomorrow night for Saratoga
Better
Live.
you than me.
Yeah. The no chance trip last time, the first start in 2 months. She's dropping into where he probably belongs now, right? Todd was ran him for 50 when Danny claimed him. He probably belongs in this 2-life condition.
Isn't it problematic when Irad Ortiz rides a horse like this that's supposed to be 12 to 1 or 15 to 1 and is going to end up half the price? Because this is the kind of horse you really, because everybody's looking and going, why is Irad riding this horse?
Well, he's ridden this horse twice. Once for Danny and once for Ty. Really, he rode this horse in the
I'm
stakes race.
I'm not saying that there's a story behind it, but clearly the way they're betting this guy, you're going to take the worst of it.
I guess.
I mean, listen, I'm not knocking any pick in this race, and
Well,
you've had
right.
good picks lately. I'm not. I don't mean that in any. I don't mean to. I'm not going to anybody here because nothing's going to surprise me in this race.
This is
By the way, very happy for Marcelo to get that win yesterday.
We talked to Marcelo Arenas this morning during breakfast
That
at
was great.
Saratoga.
Nice
Crowd was
guy.
pumped
Glad
up.
to see him get the win. Took a brutal beat at Belmont with that Rosemary Potatoes, who should have won. Nice for him.
I
to
know
get the
5 people who went all except Winter's Son in the pick 5 yesterday. And
Win. Who
they
goes
all
all
would've hit it.
except for one in a 10-horse field?
I
mean, in a
don't
5-horse
know.
field.
One guy didn't have enough money in his Naira Bets account.
But he had
cover
enough
it.
to go
So
all
he took-
-1.
Took one off. Yeah.
Okay.
Your basketball talking friend.
Why am I drawing a
We
blank?
talked about him last week. Bubser, Kevin Bubser.
Oh, Bubs. Love Bubs.
I have to make fun of Bubs. You can't come tell me that story before I had my iced coffee and not think I'm going to repeat it on Talking
right.
Horses, Kevin.
So, okay, listen. I admire your creativity, and I picked a horse actually that's not so dissimilar in the sense that he comes out of the same race, and that's Lord of War, who had a similar type. He just ran a little bit better. As far as Lord of War,
He couldn't run worse than my horse.
well, the horse to beat.
We're really going to do this in this
we're
race?
showing the Gulfstream race. Oh, Jose, you're going to switch him up because I'm talking about him? That's cool. Here's Lord of War at Gulfstream finishing, I want to say, is this 5th on 12? No, this is actually finishing 3rd, losing to Seizing the Dream, who's also in this race. Seizing the Dream is the number 6 for Barclay Tag, and thought it was a reasonably credible effort. Now, I know the good efforts were at Gulfstream, to be fair. The race 3 back was actually good enough to win here. The race 2 back, well, what chance did he have in that spot? Okay. Last time out, at least he showed some life in there before falling apart. And, we'll show the race that actually won't show. We'll show another horse. I think that Al's Prince is the one to beat, and we'll show Al's Prince beating Bailout in that epic battle down the stretch at Aqueduct before
Epic.
Bailout finally broke his maiden. But I don't think that Lord of War ran that much worse than Al's Prince last time, and I thought might be 3 times the price. So I thought he had some credentials going back that gave him a chance. and I took a shot. But I do think that Al's Prince, by the way, Javier Castellano, we talked about how well he rode at Belmont, started out with 3 wins yesterday, so congrats to him, and he's riding very well. You don't like Al's Prince at all in here, huh? I'm not being critical. I just
put him 4th.
Yeah, you don't think he's the horse to beat here?
I guess he's the horse
Who's
to beat.
David have the favor? He's 4-1.
I don't know.
Maybe he's the favorite at 4-1. Yeah, he's the favorite at 4-1.
I wanted some goofier horses in this race.
Okay. I just thought he was logical. I mean, better horses last time.
What about Jewelstone?
Chasing outside. I wanted horses that chased outside in there.
What about Jewelstone? You don't like Jewelstone at all, huh?
No. Here's the problem with Jewelstone. I think he's a massive sucker pick in here because the first thing you say is, and I get it, he wanted to go longer. Why were they running him shorter? He was pathetic last time. Anthony.
But it was shorter.
Anthony, he was pathetic. It was a terrible race, and the Chad Brown-Klarovich drop down didn't run a step.
It was a terrible
It was
race.
a terrible race, and he had dead aim, and you thought when the Klarovich horse wasn't running that he was ginger ale, and he had nothing. Is that unfair?
He didn't kick. No,
yeah,
he
I mean,
didn't
because
kick.
I initially looked at him and I said, and a big Jewelstone stretching out. And I said, why? Now, once again, I'm not going to die on a hill against anybody here, but I don't want this horse. I think Bailout is a good chance in here, ridiculous as it may seem. I bet he gets a piece.
Okay.
Though Jeffrey Englehart's barn has been a little on the chilly side.
Yes.
And Season of Dream we both have in there for Barkley.
But Darryl Abramovich is here. He's had a lot of luck when he showed up.
I wish Season of Dream had been inside last time when that was the rail situation on the inner
He's
turf.
interesting, right?
But
You
he was
have him fourth, I
outside
have
on the
him
rail.
third. He's a little interesting in here too. What price is he? He's 12-1. Yeah, that's too big a price on him, right? This is an interesting race.
I don't know how you make a morning line
This
for
race
this race.
starts the pick 6. Good luck.
No, this is a tough start. No, I agree. No, I agree. I mean, he's got Born a Gambler. Actually, Born a Gambler actually ran pretty well last time out, but
he's got to deal with that post, but he can win too.
He's not impossible in there.
7-8 horses can win this race.
Oh no, this is a very, very tricky. That's why I took a horse at a bigger price because I wanted to get a little creative. But
fair enough.
And I just don't want to take the underlay here. All right, we'll take a quick break, and we will be back to discuss the late pick 5 and the rest of the pick 6 carryover.
Who you betting on? How about an app created specifically for horse racing? Naira Bets. We specialize in thundering hooves, fist pumping, and boosting your bankroll with robust weekly promotions. And offer betting tips from actual horse racing experts. Bet all day and night, nationwide. Get the action and thrill of horse racing with Naira Bets.
Welcome back to Talking Horses. He is Anthony Stabile. I'm not. Race number 6. Thought this was a tricky one. And one of the keys to success in this race is how you evaluate the 7th race on June 19th. That was run during that week in June when inside runners were falling apart on the inner turf, slow paces were collapsing, and that's why Bar 14 ultimately ran better than some people might think he ran, and he's dangerous. Roosh just couldn't get the mile and 1/8. He gets a mile and 16th. I thought Grape Nuts Warrior ran very well because he probably was too close to the pace. I'm not blaming Irad. I understand the concern. But as the race played out and the way he runs, he would have won this race if Irad had sat farther back and made a run. I'm not knocking him. I think he did the right thing. It turned out to be the wrong thing in here. So I ultimately put him on top, Grape Nuts Warrior, because I thought he did run well in here. But I'm not going to be shocked when Bar 14 runs well out of this race. I won't be shocked when others run well in this race, but I settled for 2 out of the race, the 9 and 2. You went in a different direction.
Yeah, I looked at this.
You took Roos out of that race.
I probably spent more time on this race than the 5th and the 6th than any other races on the card. And when it was time to write the picks down, I threw my hands up and I defaulted to Clement and Rosario. I will absolutely, positively, fully admit what I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure it out, so that's what I'm going to do.
The problem with this horse, and he can absolutely win here, I would never suggest he couldn't. He's a very logical horse in here. He doesn't win. He's just not a winning type. and his last win was controlling on the front end. And I'll tell you one thing that's not happening.
It's impossible for that to
Right.
happen.
There's a better chance that you and I are going to set sail and fly out of this set when the season race, this show is over.
That would be unbelievable.
I think I'd be a better flyer.
I
than
love
you,
that visual.
personally. I think.
You'd be surprised.
And I'm not saying he can't win.
Right. No,
He's just
listen,
not, he's
I
not
get
a
it.
winning
Andy.
type, this horse.
Believe me, I get
Got
it.
a lot of hang
This
in him.
was a frustration. This was just, I was frustrated with the race. I was frustrated with the race. Thought about taking another wacky. I thought about taking another wacky Gargan swing with Regal Speaker. If he had drawn a little bit better,
not unreasonable.
I probably would have. If he had drawn a little bit better, I probably would have put him on top.
Nick Tamro was making a case for him to me, and he was wide in his last start.
Yeah.
It wasn't he didn't run well.
I
but
mean,
he was wide.
Grape Nuts Warrior. See, I don't disagree with you about the Arad.
Yeah, my default into him was not brilliant either.
I
Chad
agree,
Brown
I
and
agree
Irad.
with that, and I didn't even realize you picked him just now, so I wasn't looking to poke at you. But he's the kind of horse where, to me, he'll be overbet, and he still has to improve on some of his prior form.
Not necessarily his last race.
No,
his prior
not his
form,
last
yes.
race,
Last race.
but his prior form, and even his last race. I mean, if he runs his last race in Ruse or Strong to Gold, if Strong to Gold runs his last race and he runs his last race, Strong to Gold's probably going to beat him, and they're going to be a similar price, I would imagine.
That's fair. That's fair. I'm not going to argue with that. I'm confused by this race.
Yeah, it's a confusing race.
If I had it to do over again, I'd throw the 2 on top at a big price. Dancing with the Stars, who I bet last time, and he was a good bet at 11-1, but he was the one horse in that race that had a lot go his own way.
He had the right trip. Yeah.
I mean, he did save ground. The rail was best place to be, but I wonder if the rail was even worse in the stretch than anywhere else. I think there were horses that ran okay that were on the rail as long as they angled off in the stretch. Listen, I considered putting Ghost Giant on top in this race. I couldn't do it.
He can win.
He was hampered by a slow pace last time out. He got a terrible ride in his prior race at Monmouth, and he does have races to give him a chance. I'm not going to be shocked when this horse wins the race. I won't be shocked if the 2 wins, the 3 wins, the 5 wins, the 7 wins, the 9 wins, or the 11 wins.
Agreed. I agree.
I really won't.
This pick 6, Jonathan, J.K. and I were talking about this, doing the Blood Horse thing in the morning. You look at this sequence, and there's a real chance for a double carryover.
Absolutely. You dance through these first 2
Yeah.
legs, and you're alive good.
Good luck.
We wish you the best of luck, because
Yes.
it's a tough one, no question about it. And I don't think it gets much easier in the 7th, where I like American Pure, and I know I picked Irad again. I thought if this horse runs his race 2 back, he's just better
He'll
than these
gallop.
horses.
If he runs his race 2 back,
I just think he's better
if he
than
runs
these
his
horses.
race 2 back, they're going to have an
He's the worst to
awfully
beat.
tough time beating him
He's
today.
the worst to beat.
Yeah. It's a big drop, obviously. Now, maybe it's not as big a drop as
Where
you
does
would
he
think.
belong? He won a race at Indiana,
Correct.
Indiana
Yes.
Horseshoe, and then then he ran his Rattle and Roll and Howling Time.
This is why Brad Cox has success at the high levels and at the lower levels of the game, because he runs these horses where they
where he can
belong.
win.
This is what he's worth.
I
right?
don't think he'll be second. David has him tied for second choice. I don't think he'll be. I think Willie Sutton will be a shorter price than. He'll be a shorter price than Willie Sutton.
Who's he? Who's
Was
he?
Willie Sutton a bank robber or something?
I don't know. Yeah, that sounds about right.
It's a story. We've talked about it before. I feel like you and I talked about it when this horse first ran.
We might have.
It's a long time ago.
Yeah.
A lot of tough beats since.
A lot of bedlam and chaos since then.
Jade's Dream. 2 turns for Jade's Dream.
I just want. Yeah. I'm going to give this horse one. Since Carlos took over this horse's training, to me, he's improved, and he ran well enough on the dirt. Not only on the sloppy track, but even the first race on the dirt, I thought off of the 10 months, he ran pretty well. He's a horse that distance doesn't seem to bother him.
Beat Umbria. You do know he beat Umbria.
I know what he beat. But do you completely
I bet
trust
him that
American
day, and I
Pure
picked him
or
and bet
Willie
him that
Sutton?
day, so.
I'm just getting a little goofy at a little bit of a price.
Oh,
I'll
he's
use the
goofy.
3 of
He's
them
not
in the
gonna be that
pick
big a
4 and
price,
pick
is he?
5. I'll use
What about
the 3 of them.
6%?
Not for me.
Why?
Because I think distance is not his friend. I think the last thing this horse wants to do is go a mile and an eighth around 2 turns.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't agree with you at all. The better races he's run have been going longer, mile and 16th. I don't agree with that. And
Okay.
I think Jeremiah. I wonder if Jeremiah's going to have a good meet. He's been a little quiet.
Got off the duck right away yesterday.
That
Fourth
was
race.
a week and a half the best, and a very good ride by Javier. And he took all the money, but he didn't break.
Claimed, too.
He didn't break. I'm sure he was claimed.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Jeremiah knew he'd be claimed. He didn't break, and Javier didn't panic because he was the speed. And he just sat on the behind horses, and he absolutely galloped. I think 6% is going to run well in here. I'm going to hone mostly in on the 3 and 4 in this race.
Okay.
They're my main two, but I don't do it with a great deal of trust.
Want to lunch it? 2 versus 3?
Sure.
Let's do it.
We're at 106.
Yes.
3 versus 1 or 2 lunches.
Let's do it for 2.
Okay. I don't think it's out of the realm of possible. I'm up 150 lunches after the meet. I think
I'd like to get it down to 75.
that'll never happen.
That's my goal.
There's zero chance that happens. It's good to have goals.
You'll stop it at 76 now because I said it, but I'd like to get it down to 75.
It's never going to get 76. It's better to be 176 before it's 76. And anybody want to bet on that, come to Papa. Race number 8, Twilight Gleaming scratched. Okay, Wesley.
Yes.
Okay. So
Very astute of you.
we'll start.
She scratched.
Okay, I'm going to start the conversation without showing a replay, and you're going to explain to me why you like Mystic Eyes.
Okay. You got it. So, Mystic Eyes, good 2-year-old form. I thought really good 2-year-old form.
Really?
Yeah, I thought she was good last year.
Good enough to win this race?
High 7. I do.
Okay, I don't.
Because I think, and I know you don't do this, but I think you can completely toss out her last race. And absolutely over a course that has now been ripped up. She was on the worst part of the course that was ripped up.
No, the rail wasn't bad at that
She
point.
was never able to make. She was never able to make the lead.
Well, that's the problem, though. How's she making the lead in here?
Well, I think she has an outside draw. She gets Louis Saez aboard. Not saying Ricardo Santana Jr. did anything wrong last time.
if Static Fire is not in front in this race, Julian fell off coming out of the
Okay, but what I'm saying to you is I don't think she'll be under a drive and 2, 3, 4 lengths behind. She was never, ever, ever within smelling salt distance of the lead last time.
Okay. You think she's a better horse than
I
I
do. I
So
do.
that's fine.
I wanted to bet her against Twilight Gleaming today.
Okay.
This pick was not. I did not scratch into her. I was taking her today. I thought her last race was the ultimate toss race. She gets back to the place where she broke her maiden with a
Gonna be
real
a big
fig.
price. Have at it.
Is she going to be that big? You think she's going to be that big of a price?
Yeah.
I think she's a
gonna be
perfect rebound
8
horse
to
today.
10 to 1.
I hope you're right.
How
I
could
hope
she
you're
not
right.
be?
She's fifth. Wow, he has her 15 to 1 line. I like this filly a lot today.
Okay. I wish you the best of luck. When I lose, I hope I lose to her. I don't see it, but wouldn't be the first horse that surprised me. Take a look at the race, the Stormy Blues. Stormy Blues was Scotty Schulhofer, right?
Yeah.
Was she the favorite in the
Yes.
Frizette against?
Wow.
Was she the favorite in the Frizette against Heavenly Prize?
She could have been.
She might have been undefeated going into
That was 94?
going at 93.
93?
I think she may be the one that was favored. So I actually think a number of these ran okay. I thought Artos ran okay. Poppy Flower obviously got the run of the race. It was a fast pace that collapsed. Now, the knock on Derry Nane is, well, she got the fast pace that collapsed. Why didn't she win?
Right.
She didn't win, in my opinion. Now, maybe she's tailed off, but I don't think she wants to be as close as she was. I actually think she was too close to the pace in there. And I think Joelle in this race, the race at 7, she got too close because the pace was so slow.
Right.
I think in this race, Joelle is going to sit back and make that one run, and I think she's kind of the horse to beat. I'm surprised you didn't pick her on top.
I agree. No, I was
like a big price.
I
no,
was
scratch.
betting Mystic Eyes back off of that race last time.
Okay, that's fine.
But yes, I mean, she's. If we were to anoint a filly to beat in here, it would absolutely be Derry Nane at this point. Yes, I would agree with that.
I'm extremely surprised the horse we're going to look at here, Static Fire, didn't run in, and she would have won the victory ride. And,
Yeah.
And I thought that Brian would point for the test with her because she's good and she is fast. But he's going to run her here on the turf, and I respect Brian Lynch. And see, I think with the scratches, I think she may be the speed of the speed. And if I'm going to use a speed, now you're going to use Mystic Eyes, I'm going to use her.
Filly she beat last time, came back to win. She beat Tarabi, who won the Wilton
Beat her
yesterday.
like a drum.
Yeah, beat her good last time too.
Congrats to Cherie DeVoe, by the way, getting
yeah,
that win on
congrats.
opening day.
Now, on the 1s and 2s, got to the lead last time, a little bit of an easy lead, so she kind of controlled things against Tarabi, but she
I'm
still
very
won.
curious to see what this filly does because
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, she ran last
She
time.
ran. She ran, closed out one of the cross-country pick fives we hit down at Belmont with her last time. She just went from the rail and the race was over.
It's interesting because David Argona had told me after the race, kidding, that she had worked incredibly well in the dirt here last summer, and he was surprised when Brian ran her first time on the turf, and then she took a ton of money, obviously working well, and they were right, and she galloped.
I was back home with the
that was the end of the
COVID,
meet, yeah.
and I got a call about her. I remember getting a call about her, and then when I saw her back in, I was like, run her on the dirt. So I threw her in the cross-country pick 5 ticket as kind of like an afterthought.
We
and
talked
got
about
lucky.
her quite a bit, Greg and I, on the show that day, actually.
Oh, I remember that. I do remember that.
I like the horse we're going to show from Woodbine, Empress Tigress, who's making a big jump, sold for $410,000 as a 2-year-old sale, from a maiden win in a synthetic race to run in a race like this. And I will absolutely admit it's a big move. Let me talk with some horses out of that race. The 4th horse came back and proved its buyer figure 30 points. The 6th horse, 31 points.
Wow.
This horse absolutely exploded. She has the speed to be close enough if the pace isn't as fast. I don't love, she is a tail of the cat dam. I don't love the idea of taking her off a maiden win in this field on synthetic, and I don't know that you're really going to get paid as much as you should. But I think she might be pretty good. I'm going to take her and Derry Nane as mine too. I'm going to use a little static fire. You're going to take a little bit of a shot at a price with Mystic Eyes. Race number 9 is the Forbidden Apple, trained by Christophe Clement.
Yep.
It came up a pretty strong race,
It
and
did.
the horse to beat is the horse you and I have second. Excuse me, and that is Set Piece. We'll take a look at Set Piece winning last time and won despite there being a lack of pace, and you would think there's going to be pace in here, and I don't think there's any knock on Set Piece in this race.
I would, he was slightly over 2-1 last time. And saying
Well, because the tone was loose, and
Right.
all the suckers like me thought being loose he couldn't lose.
then as well as me. I don't think I was surprised he won. I think I was surprised at how easily he won last time.
Pretty good
Right.
horse.
He is a pretty good horse, but nothing looked like it was supposed to go his way last time, and it unfolded that way. He didn't get any pace. He was going to have to be wide. He was far back early, and none of it mattered. None of it mattered. There's also a horse that had done the bulk of his best work at Churchill Downs and on the synthetic and at Turfway Park.
Well, that's where he ran most of the time.
Yeah, he went to Gulf. He went to
He ran very
Pimlico.
well up here in the 4-star Dave,
Yeah,
didn't he?
he just went to Pimlico and he galloped last time. Yeah, no real knocks against him.
Mira Mission, he's really improved. Ian Wilkes has done a spectacular job with him. We'll take a look at him running second to Santon. The problem with him in this race is that he and Santon were the only 2 horses that showed up,
Yes.
and nobody else handled the turf. But I don't think you're supposed to hold it against him. And when you look at his prior races, outrunning his odds with a 5th place in the Maker's Mark, he's just a dramatically improved horse. And of the 3 horses that you and I have in the top 3, he's the one that'll be closest to the pace. So he's the one that'll be the least compromised if the pace doesn't develop the way it's supposed to. Because it's supposed to be at least an honest pace.
I mean,
though you
with-
never know around
With
here.
Wolfie's Dynagos, yes and yes, clear
It doesn't-
vision.
it doesn't matter,
Get
Anthony.
smoking. Andy, there's 5 of them.
It doesn't matter. John Velasquez rated the lone speed in yesterday's 8th race. How were you not realizing
The 8th race.
the race that Javier took a horse who could have
Oh,
been last
yes.
early and went to the front because he's paying attention to the 4 being scratched at the gate. It was the controlling speed. Whereas Johnny took back the Cassie horse. Now, maybe those were instructions from the Cassie barn
Right.
to take back the horse who should have been sitting second and would have been in front if she wanted to. And it probably was instructions he was following. But that horse could have been in front. I don't know, but I've seen, especially mile turf races here, I've seen a lot of races that are not run the way they should be supposed to be run. Now, Wolfie's Dynagos is going. That you know. Luis Saez doesn't rate horses. But yeah, Yes and Yes is supposed to be forward. Clear Vision's supposed to be forward. Get Smokin's supposed to be forward, so you would think they will be. Why do you like Public Sector out of this race?
I thought after the Hollywood Derby and the Turf Classic, and I know the Turf Classic was run over that course, it just looked to me like he had gone the wrong way. Like he just hadn't developed, and that was it, right? Because I know there were high hopes for this horse from day one. This was Chad's best 2-year-old in 2020 on the turf.
Well, that may be because he didn't have any killers in the barn.
Right.
To
Yeah,
be
the
fair.
other horse, the
But he did
coin
win
flip was him and
couple-
Sifting
won
Sands.
multiple stakes.
Yeah, no, listen.
Won 3 grade stakes.
I'm not knocking. I'm just saying I think if you put the connections on a lie detector test, they would say this horse. They would not disagree that this horse is underachieved.
He's under.
You don't think he's underachieved based on their feelings about him going? I do.
Okay, I think you're
I
wrong,
do.
but
I
that's
remember
fine.
getting a gigantic story about this horse.
I think
In any
you're-
event,
he won 3 grade stakes. But okay.
he
Okay,
he
we have a
showed some.
completely different opinion of him. Why do you like him today?
He showed some life last time.
Okay.
He showed some life last time, and I feel like I feel like part of the reason he showed some life last time was the distance. I think this mile and a 16th is his wheelhouse.
Well, those are the races he's mostly run. Okay, we disagree. I'll give you my analysis of him. He's a very nice horse. He won races. He got good trips, but he improved. He got a ridiculous trip in the Hollywood Derby, and he should have won. There was absolutely no pace in that race. He got dragged back. He was out of position. He was buried on the inside. Never a chance to run. He was the best horse coming out of that race. Though Santon ran very well from post 14. But I do think the public sector, if there had been any pace in the race, would have won the race. So I disagree. They took a step back. I don't care he did in the Turf Classic because nobody hailed that turf at all. That was the most ridiculous race. So that race was run on that turf course. A $1 million grade 1 is really a disgrace. Last time out, I actually think he ran extraordinarily well. There was no pace whatsoever. Not only was there no pace in the race, he was hung out 3 wide in this race, where all the running was done by horses that saved ground in there. He was the one that lost the most ground, hung out 3 wide behind a slow pace. They went 48-1 to the half, and they came home in 45-4, and he was out of position wide, and he still was gaining at the end. I thought he actually ran exceptionally well in that race. The best race he ever ran. I do agree with you that a cut back to a mile is perfect for him, and a race that at least is supposed to be run reasonably fairly, and you can't ever know you're going to get a good trip or not. You hope you'll get a good trip. He's the right horse. Now, whether or not he's good enough to beat Set Piece, who figures to get just as good a trip, if not better than him, because he drew the rail, I don't know. But I'll take a chance at a decent price that he can beat him.
He's supposed to have the jump on Set Piece as well, right? I mean, I would imagine he has the jump on.
He's a little faster than
Yeah.
him, but it's not like they ride him into the races.
But it could be enough.
But they should ride to get some position. I think Set Piece is the horse to beat in here. I don't think there's any argument he isn't.
I agree.
But our horse is going to be a better price.
Yes.
So I prefer him, and I think that there's a lot of things to like about him going forward. How much time do we have?
We got 5 minutes.
So I just want to say there's some interesting horses. I mean, Yes and Yes are taking a shot. I mean, how about the job that Dave Donk has done with him?
He's in such good form, but he's got to deal with the 2 turns and the stretch out.
I
don't know
understand,
if-
but he's
You
been in
have to
great
run him.
form. He's run well at 2 turns before. Scuttlebuzz, I mean, Scuttlebuzz is Rudy's taking a shot. I don't think he's a 2-turn miler, but Rudy's finding out. I think a lot of these horses are taking a shot in here and saying, let's find out if we should be pointing towards the Troy or we should be pointing towards the 4-star Dave.
I think your boy Sanctuary City has a little bit of a chance too.
I don't
Did you
like him around 2 turns, and I don't like his
Okay.
posts, but I do like him as a horse.
I just thought with some pace in here, maybe he can get some pace to run at.
I just think that
The
Public
2-turn?
Sector ran
Okay.
significantly better than he did last
do
time.
too.
And they had the wire together. Race number 10 is an interesting race. We actually ended up with the same horse. I'll be curious, G, why you like her. I am going to start, though, with Rosa Veloce, and we'll show her win 3 back. Honestly, I think Maury's making a mistake dropping this horse in for 45. He's going to lose her, and I think she'll let multiple people try. This horse was 5 wide last time, 4 or 5 wide against a super gold rail in her race. So she has a monstrous excuse in her last start. And I just think she's probably too good for
she's
these
the horse to
horses,
beat.
and she's probably going to
Yeah,
win.
she's
I
the
picked
horse
her
to beat.
second because I had a pricey idea, as did you, but I think she's going to win.
She's the horse to beat. No question
So
about
why'd
it.
you
She's
pick
the
the
horse to
9?
beat. Say that one more time. I feel like the only time
Why'd you
She's
pick
a
the 9?
Wild Joker was really able. I mean, she ran the debut. Then they ran her in the Adirondack, obviously over her head. 2 wet track races. Well, she ran okay, but I don't think she's a wet track horse. And then something obviously went wrong in the Franklin Square. Gets Lasix for the first time. I just wanted a little bit of an alternative. I was kind of sick of some of the others in here, so she was just a little bit of a quirky play. She's drawn outside. I would imagine she's going to be She's not going to be on the lead. I would imagine she'll be somewhat forward, coming off the break, fresh. There's not a ton of speed in
She
here.
could actually be on the lead.
Yeah,
here.
I think she'll be forward in here.
I'd like to see Jose be aggressive with
Yeah,
her.
I mean, I don't know if she'll be in
I
front.
thought
but
she
yeah.
ran well enough as a 2-year-old
Yeah.
with routine improvement. She's a horse that can win the race. I don't know it's going to be easy to be Rose Village. I don't want the horses out of this race. I don't want any of them. And I get it. Obviously, Cali Magic can win. She had been in very good form. I just thought this race was awful. The track was fair. I mean, big Q, quality stones. I just
Me
don't
too, my
know.
man.
The only, I mean, maybe I'll throw in Mozienko on my pick 4s or pick 5s just because I don't want to ever
You
let
have
Dennis
to.
Laumann beat me. A horrible beat. This horse took 2 races back. A whole field hit the wire together in here. There's so many in here I don't want, and that's another reason I like the 9. I like the 2. I don't need to take her at a short price, and I thought that the number 9, She's a Wild Joker, was a reasonable alternative.
Yeah,
for
I
similar
wanted 2s and 9s. That was it.
Well, all right. That does it for the day 2 of the 40-day marathon at Saratoga. Long way to go. A lot of good things. Hopefully not too many bad things can happen going forward. We have a carryover, $120,000. Best way to play it and play all the action is to play through Naira Bets. Head on over to NairaBets.com if you're not a member. Use the promo code TOGA200 or the alternative code KEEPAnthonyEmployed200. Head on over to Naira Bets. Enjoy day 2 at Saratoga. Johnny I up next, the reprise, the scratches and changes.